Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Scott Tucker, and you're watching or listening to Veteran Wealth Secrets, where this is the show about, thinking outside the box from the traditional approach to what are we going to do with our lives after military service. So we're speaking to people on active duty, to get ready. Hey, how do you even improve your career while on active duty to better position yourself for post-military life? If you're going through transition, if you're already a veteran and you're just kind of not comfortable with the way you've been told to save money, find a job, prepare for, what life is supposed to be like. That's what this show is about. And really, if you think about, a lot of people, and myself included, had no idea what I wanted to do after the military. Yet I chose about 10 years ago to figure it out. I had no idea what I was trying to figure out, but I did. And so that's why today I'm so excited to have Enrique Acosta Gonzalez on. Hey, man, how you doing?
Doing great, brother.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited to get your insight. You're the CEO of Triad Leadership Solutions. Let's start off. Tell us a little bit about that. I'm assuming there's some influence from your military career into how that got started. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, no, thank you, Scott, for having me on the show. I've been following you and Jen for a little bit now, so I'm happy to be with you today. Triad Leadership Solutions really was birthed from my military career.
Okay.
It was I spent the better part of 10 years of my last part or phase of my military career as a senior enlisted leader at the command level. But most of all of us know that you start at leadership very young in the military. So all of that basically snowballed into me wanting to ensure that young leaders were prepared for their next phase in life, which was leadership, right? And leadership full time. Or struggling leaders that are behind the scenes, no joke, struggling, but they're just afraid to tell somebody, hey, I need help, because you're just at a job site and you need to perform. So Triad Leadership Solutions addresses those two segments in leadership, those that are brand new, don't know what to do, and those that are in it because of positional authority, or they were placed there, they got promoted, they weren't ready. But they need help. So that's what we address.
No, I love it. So who's your ideal client customer? Is it corporations, military units, just individuals looking some individual coaching? Who do you serve?
Yeah, so right now we're focused on the college graduate that's going into their first management and leadership position, as well as corporate level leaders that just don't want to go to someone in their job and say, hey, I don't got what it takes to cut it in this position. They can reach out to us in a incognito kind of way. We'll get you where you need to be. You don't have to tell nobody. We sure won't. And we'll make the best out of your career in the background, right? So those are our two main focuses. Now, I do have folks that go to the website and just, kind of, hey, I need to talk to you for a half hour. Hey, I need to talk to you for an hour. And then we help them through some issues that way. But most of our clients are those that are looking to excel in their leadership, but really don't want to tell nobody.
Okay, that's super interesting, and I get it. Because hey, if you're put in a leadership role, the expectation is, well, I already got the skill set. And, right. Sometimes we talk about, well, if you're coming out of the military, you've got leadership skills. And quite honestly, I didn't know how to define that when I got out. I didn't feel, my last 4 years in the military were, all staff jobs. Even though I'd gone to West Point, everything was about being a platoon leader. I was only a platoon leader for like 10 months. So I'm curious, when you work with college grads, I'm assuming, how many are veterans or otherwise? And I'm curious if there's any that were sort of like me that I definitely would have needed some extra leadership training.
Yeah, no, the variety of those that inquire are just common day civilian, right? Because what I've noticed is that once you get several years of the military under your belt, and like I mentioned earlier, we throw you at leadership early. I mean, you're an E4, you're in charge.
Yeah.
Go get that group, and you're going to do this, that, and the other. So we birthed that leadership doctrine in you early. So most of the guys that are in veterans, what they're trying to figure out is how to work it out here. In the common folk scenario, where you are no longer surrounded by military people that will do what you say just because you said it, right? So
right.
So those are their focuses, and so most of our clients are guys and gals that are don't have that military background.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's cool because, hey, I know you're a podcaster, so you're communicating to the masses. And I think we would all agree in these last 20 years of endless war where, all the civilians are saying, hey, thank you for your service. And then the conversation kind of stops there.
Right.
And people looking for jobs in the corporate world are upset that the civilians don't understand their skill sets or how to apply them. The civilians are, don't understand, or and vice versa. Have you had? I mean, obviously, you're using the skills you learned in the military to teach these civilians. How have they responded to that? Do you think it helps them go back to their workplace? And whether or not they're thinking more about hiring veterans, or obviously there's veterans everywhere. So have there been any sort of feedback on their ability to communicate better? Because I just think that is the issue we are not solving right now, language.
Right. Yeah. Communication is a task for anyone that has to deal
especially
with somebody
leaders.
else. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, there's this thing that I have to address sometimes, which is they come to a person that's a military, has military background, and they think that they're going to become Sergeant Slaughters. And it's funny, but it isn't, because there's a perception that I'm realizing that there is out here about what military leadership is. And they don't understand that we don't do a whole lot of yelling anymore. There's not that, that type of leadership was good for an era, but it won't serve the service member today. Now, there are some situations that, high tempo, high stress, that even the kindest of words is shouted, right? But for the most part, we're not running a dictator leadership style kind of organization. We are all growing in all the steps that are necessary to be an effective leader, and that it's learned easier in the military setting because there are expectations for you to execute on what you learned and what we sent you to school for, right? So the expectations are higher, and we kind of curate that that knowledge by what we see. And but so there's a lot of people that say, okay, so I want to be able to come in and go back and tell it like it is. No, that's never going to work. It hardly ever worked in the military. It definitely is not going to work in the civilian world, right? So what I have to do is kind of reorient them on what the military leadership is, which is basically effective leadership. That's what we preach, and that's what we teach, and that's what we do. And the reason why most people want military folks is because they know how to effectively lead groups of people that are comprised of all kinds of folk from around the nation, and you put them in a group, and all of a sudden this guy or this girl is leading them. How do they do that? I can't do that even in my little shop. And so how do I do that? And so that's why I reorient them, but then I teach them what we teach, effective leadership.
Can you, I'm assuming the opposite of effective leadership is ineffective leadership, which therefore is not leadership, right? So what do you define, what does effective leadership mean to you and your organization as you're teaching it?
Effective leadership from our standpoint is there's a mission, right? There's a task. The person in charge is able to communicate, and we spoke about that, right? Communicate clearly the task. The people already have trust in that leader. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, because that trust factor has to go up in order for this to really become effective. But that, let's say all things ideal, this group already has their vested interest in that leader because they trust everything they say. And then that team executes flawlessly that mission. Now, what is flawlessly? It doesn't mean errorless, right?
Right.
It means that to the person spectating from the outside, they see no problem, right? And it's all how you present the execution. And it's not in a deceptive way, but it's in a way where you didn't see our struggles. What you saw was a flawless execution of what you said was our mission, and we did it in a timely manner, in a way that nobody got hurt, and in a way that the group as a whole will be recognized. And it's never, everything usually goes to the leader, but no, this effective model, the group is the one that is celebrated, and the milestone is given to the group. So that's what for us looks like an effective leadership scenario.
Yeah, no, that's great. That made me wonder: are you getting more like blue collar organizations, like construction and stuff like that, or the white collar office work, or a little bit of both? What are the differences? Who benefits most from this type of training?
Yeah, it's funny because there has not been, and I've tried to identify where is the market really coming from? Where is the drive or the thirst for this type?
Thirst
and
for
it's
leadership.
coming, it's coming from everywhere. And
Yeah.
all that tells me is that there is a massive leadership deficit that spans all types of genres of organizational structures, of people, classes, and it doesn't surprise me in a way, because guess what? Everybody goes to school, but nobody teaches how to be a leader. Nobody.
Right.
The school system is geared to teach you how to be a follower. Although that is, in my opinion, a precursor to great leadership. You have to be a great follower to be a great leader. And you have to be able to, at times, digress from leadership to be a follower in order to continue to grow as a leader. But they don't capitalize on, let's say, college to teach you leadership. No, they keep teaching you things, how to follow and how to get a job and how to, be under somebody else. They never teach it. So that gap is there. Right? How to fill out a check, if we even have those, right? So but the thing is, so that gap is inherent, and it's showing up in every organization, and it is mainly because you go to school, you graduate from college, you get that first position, of course you got a bachelor's, so now you're a leader. No, right? I always say that don't let that be a precursor to you putting somebody in a leadership position. They have only learned how to follow, and so now you may put your organization in a position where you're struggling because of that. And guess what? How many military people retire or separate on a yearly basis? Those folks have leadership experience. Maybe you bring them in off the street and make them a leader, right? And you may have a little more success, but even us coming out, we have to be indoctrinated in a way as well, to get used to the new normal for us, right?
It's unfortunately, I think many decades of prosperity in America have led to apathy, where people are just like, oh, get a good job, get a good paycheck, and a couple hiccups here and there, And it's like, well, follow for a bit, but don't just drink the Kool-Aid if you don't have to. In the military, we sign up, we have to follow orders. Our school system has told everybody they need to go to college now, and now they're getting saddled in debt. And how can you just want to get that job? Hey, tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. I got to pay this stuff off. It's kind of sad because it does create. I think that the thing we really wanted to get into today, the secret you want to talk about, I think it creates that mental void of just the lack of am I doing what I want to be doing, what I should be doing? I just followed all the systems, got good grades, and went to some job fairs and got hired. That's great, but we're also seeing, not just in the veteran community, in general, I think in America, the most prosperous country of all time, and yet midlife crisis rates are at all-time highs, and it has to do with this just kind of lack of sense of meaning. So Enrique, dig into your secret. How do we fill the void?
Yeah, so it's funny because when you ask me, what that was for me, which is the way I say it is, if you see a void, fill it, and that is a very proactive, basically statement. You have to be proactive because everybody sees voids. You see voids everywhere, right? And one of my podcasts that I co-host with Vince Loran is The Leadership Void, and we named it that for a reason, because they're everywhere. But what happens is no one is daring enough. Or let me just say this. There are few people that are daring enough to identify that void, see the necessity to fill it, and also the results of filling that. Because you got to go through the whole process before you just jump in and fill the void, right? Maybe that void was there for a reason. But get in there and make an impactful basically effort at making sure that void is not detrimental, right? Let's just say, right, you walking down the street, you see a hole in the floor, right? And let's just say that the people didn't bring the manhole cover on and put it on, right? You can look at it, and you have to. This is an assessment you have to do. You can't just fill stuff just to fill it. You have to assess why it's empty. Because you throw that man cover on there and somebody's down there, how are they going to get out, right? So you just have to assess the whole area, the whole scenario. But if it's needed, let's say they were done for the day, they just left it. Now it's in your hands. You can either bring that over so someone don't actually fall into it, or get someone else to bring it and fill it. But my whole career was built on that statement. A lot of times, some of us going through our military journey have limitations, right? We have rank limitations. We have promotion limitations, right? They can only make but so many every year. And having those limitations and moving up the ranks is something that it's out of your control sometimes, but is it? And this is where I came in. I said, yeah, there are limitations, but there's always going to be a number of people that get selected. So I have to do whatever I have to do to make sure I'm in that number. And so let's say I was at a command, and what they require for promotion wasn't offered there. I found it somewhere else. Or I found an alternative that was equally as valuable as the item they put on the precepts for me to get promoted. And so where there was nothing available for me, I created it. I made it match. I made it so that when I got put up for promotion or advancement, they will look at my record and say, man, This guy saw that there was a void and there was no way to get what we required, but he went over here and found something that is just as equally as important and met the scope of what we were requesting, and he got it. And so those things look more favorable on you than you just saying, hey, it's not here, I'll wait till my next command. Because guess what? I was getting older, the years were going by, and nothing was going to help me unless I did something. And that's where the whole void comment statement came out of. If you see a void, fill it. Be that proactive person to fill that gap. Do it wisely. Do it calculated. Do it within the law, right? Don't do something, because sometimes people do some crazy stuff. Yeah. But do it within the law. Do it that it meets the scope of what's required, even if it doesn't look the same, so that people are happy with your progression and they can value you for your actions and you get promoted. So thankfully, my philosophy actually helped me get to where I did in the military, and yeah, I still live by it.
Well, no, that's awesome. Congratulations on such a successful career. And you said the word, you created it. I remember I was looking at a study in 2015, the top 10 skill sets that a corporation would want when hiring people. It's always like, leadership and engineering skills or that kind of stuff. And that was in 2015. You never saw the word creativity on that list. In 2020, it's like number 3 as a desired skill set. And so as we close up here, I'm curious. A lot of times people think they're well, it's not my job. I don't have permission. I see a problem up there. Nobody's listening. I'd argue, especially in this day and age where just things are changing rapidly. Somebody above you might not know about a technology that would fill the gap or whatever. How do we give ourselves permission and find that creativity in ourselves? Some people say, I'm just not creative. Just tell me what to do. I think that's going to leave people behind. What are some of the skill sets, or how do we awaken creativity more so people can go get what they want? You know what I mean? It's like, you can't just sit around. If you want something, you got to figure it out, and don't just sit around and wait for it. How do we teach that?
Yeah, one of the things that I teach the leaders is because in part of the process is that I break them down, right? Just like we do at boot camp. I break them down to the lowest common denominator, and then I build them back up. But one of the things I teach them is sense of ownership. Sense of ownership could be misguided. So I teach them very calculated way of ingraining that, bringing that in to themselves. But sense of ownership is simple, and I put this simply. You're walking down the P-way, the passageway. You see a Snickers wrapper on the floor, and you go by it and you say, that's not my job. We pay somebody to come in at night. They'll get it. What you just did was you separated yourself from the bigger scope of what your company stands for. And when you separate yourself in little instances like that, they accumulate. And then you have a portfolio at the end of your career of how many times you separated yourself, and then you want to wonder why you don't care. So we build on daily actions. Daily actions result in habits, and those habits are what end us at the end. It basically ends you at a good exit or a bad exit. Now the same person goes by and sees the wrapper and says, wow, man, okay, somebody must have dropped it. All right, let me just pick it up. Boom. Somebody else saw them. They happen to be an executive. Or you was the executive, and a first year employee came in and saw you. You have just taken one action, reproduced it in the thought and mind of somebody else, and caused them to start thinking, that man is invested. That lady is invested in this company. Let's say it was the boss. You're gonna put a smile on their face, right? So what happens? The cleaning crew still comes in, but you facilitated less work for them. Now they still gonna get paid. That's none of your business, right? That's them between them and the contract. But what happened is that cleaner, that worker comes in and says, "Wow, these people really care about this place. There's not much for me to do." Not knowing that you was the one that helped them, right? So their sense now is an appreciation for the people that work there because they help out in the cleaning. It's a win-win situation, and all it was picking up one wrapper. That's it. And so we never consider the second and third orders ramifications that we say for our single daily actions, and every day we build on those things. And so sense of ownership is what I tell folks.
Wow, I think the act of breaking yourself down, breaking folks down to their core stuff, it allows you to put yourself in other people's shoes a little bit more, and then you think about, and that's how creativity builds. Enrique, wow, that was a ton of great insight today. I wanted to ask you about some other stuff as well, but we'll just do another episode and keep going, because I want to get into the after action review concept, but I think that could be a huge discussion because I'm sure you apply that. But Enrique, what's next for Triad Leadership Solutions? How do people contact you? Who should be contacting you? Give them all the info.
Yeah, like I said earlier, if you're a college graduate getting ready to get that first job and they're putting you in a leadership position, contact me. We'll work out some way so that you can go in there with some knowledge that you need. If you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out. And the beauty of what I do is that, like I said, is incognito. So, but I reside on LinkedIn, right? So if you want to get in touch with me, Enrique Acosta Gonzalez on LinkedIn. Our website is www.triadleadershipsolutions.com, and you can also get a hold of me there.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, brother. I'm just really looking forward to seeing how things are working out for you guys. And hey, I appreciate the idea of helping bring leadership into I think a lot of American society that needs it so much right now. And it doesn't always have to be, we're just going to turn everything into the military. It's like, actually, we're pretty softy sometimes. We like to understand our soldiers and how you feeling today. It's like, that's true leadership. So just love that you're bringing it that way, man. But hey, thanks again for joining us. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time. Take care.